Okay, I'm back. Sorry for taking so long. I've been pretty sick. I don't think it was COVID. I tested negative twice, but it was just about the worst cold I've ever had. And I'm sure I still sound sick. I'm still kind of fighting it off. But I sound better than I did, which was, closer to General Grievous or some shit. But just when I thought I was really getting better, I made the mistake of watching Star Trek Picard. And now I'm sick again. I'm not kidding. I feel worse than I did before I watched the episode. The show is literally detrimental to my health. And I know every time I watch an episode of this show, I say how surprised I am at how bad it was. And it's still happening. And keep in mind, by this point especially, my expectations are less than zero. I expect every episode of this show to be atrocious. And it still surprises me at just how atrocious it is. I mean, this one was just... I don't even know how something like this gets made. This is not like a Tommy Wiseau production. This is a big budget show with a lot of people involved. And you're telling me that no one said, hey, we can't do this. This is stupid as shit. And it makes no fucking sense. And it's morally fucked up. I mean, nobody said that. They all just thought, oh, this is going to be a gem. I mean, it's astounding. This is the 9th episode, and I keep saying this. This is the worst episode yet. It was abominable. Anyway, let's just get into it. It opens up with the Jurati Borg Queen beaming aboard Rios' ship with some of her makeshift drones. And I guess her goal is to use the ship to shoot down Rene Picard's mission to Europa. You remember that? That whole storyline that has been dropped for the last couple episodes? And she steals the clothes off the dead Borg Queen's body. I guess style is important. And Rios and his new family escape. They beam to the chateau where the rest of the crew is hanging out. And they end up pinned down by Borg drones. And how does this not alter the timeline? I guess these Borg drones never did anything important or had any kids that did anything important, because they are nothing more than cannon fodder in this episode. Anyway, Rios gets shot in the arm, and he, Teresa, and her son beam to Talon's base, I guess? I don't know. They're just hanging out there for basically the rest of the episode, and they're safe for the time being. And back on the ship, Jurati has an annoying conversation with the Borg Queen. You see, they're sharing the same head, so that means they can have some kind of Gollum Smeagol-like relationship, and they could talk to each other. And somehow, Jurati managed to create a hologram of Elnor called the Emergency Combat Hologram. I swear, this dude only shows up when it's time to fight. He has no other function on this show. No characterization whatsoever. At one point, he chooses a sword over phasers because his whole identity is a sword. And he starts fighting Borg drones. And they shoot at him. They shoot at a hologram. What is this, Total Recall? I mean, it shouldn't do anything if they hit him. He's also wearing a mobile emitter, like on Voyager, but that is like, what, a piece of 26th century technology on Voyager? It shouldn't exist in this timeline. It shouldn't be here. And I guess you could argue that they're trying to shoot that, because that would disable him, but I think trying to shoot a light-based life form with projectile bullets, it's just brain dead. It's really stupid. And there's a lot of running and gunning in the rest of the episode. Adam Sung is leading the Borg drones. They take orders from him. I mean, why? Why is this guy even here? Why does the Borg Queen need this dude? If her plan is to steal the ship and destroy the shuttle to Europa, why does she need Adam Sung for that? What? Just because he stands to gain from her success doesn't mean that he needs to contribute. There's nothing that he is qualified for here. Like, he's just a scientist guy. It reminds me of the early in the season when the first husband beamed aboard the ship to try to arrest Seven. Like, why would that have happened? Can't you delegate? And we get a fuck ton of Picard flashbacks in this episode. I mean, it's obnoxious. There are so many. So I'm just going to tackle it all in one group. Because it's basically a whole separate story that has nothing to do with the episode. I mean, it kind of does, because the flashbacks are sort of telling Picard where he needs to go in the chateau. But the story of the flashbacks have nothing to do with the episode. And once again, it shows young Picard and his mother living in their 19th century Charles Dickens story. And she refers to Picard's father as Morris. Morris. That's how you pronounce this name? It's not Maurice? And don't say that they are like French in name only, because every time young Picard calls for his mother, he says, Maman, like a little French kid. So why is she saying Morris? Is his name John Luck now? And of course, there's no sign of Robert Picard, or I guess in this case it would be Robert. He's just gone. He doesn't exist anymore. And ultimately, it's revealed that Picard's mother hanged herself. This happens after Morris locks her in her room to, quote, keep her safe. And young Picard let her out. And he speculates that if he hadn't let her out, this wouldn't have happened. I mean, holy shit. Do doctors not exist? Locking her in her room for her safety is something you might do for someone a century ago. And this is the 24th century. Despite how it looks and feels, it's not actually some fucking Oliver Twist story. Nothing could be done for this woman. That's what you're telling me. And what is the point of this storyline? What is the point? I know they want to showcase how devastating mental illness can be. But don't you think they could have handled it better than this? There is an episode of the original series where they administer a cure for some mentally ill patients. A cure. Now, granted, I think it was mostly criminally ill people, and it was more than a little cartoonish, but that's 100 years before this. You can't tell me that there's nothing they could do for Yvette Picard. I don't believe it. In the past, if Star Trek wanted to do a commentary on mental illness, they wouldn't shoehorn it into the backstory of a main character. What they would do is use allegory. It would be displayed in a guest character or an alien species of the week. But there's no allegory in this show. They just have characters step up to the microphone and say, mental illness is hard, or ice is bad, or Skid Row in LA is horrible. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not disagreeing with the spirit of those messages, but could you somehow intelligently weave it into the story? Is that so much to ask? Do they have to stop the fucking episode to tell you these things? Like it's a fucking TED Talk. Ah, it's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. Anyway, back to this fucking episode. Where are we? Seven and Rafi have an interesting conversation. Seven explains that she tried to join Starfleet after Voyager got back from the Delta Quadrant, but they wouldn't take her because she used to be a Borg. Does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Ichib was in Starfleet. They took him. They allowed Picard back into Starfleet after he destroyed an entire fleet of starships as Locutus. But there's no room for Seven? They also said that Admiral Janeway threatened to resign if they wouldn't take her, which is hilarious because she didn't. They called Janeway's bluff, and she was like, "Oh, listen, I was just kidding. All right, I don't really want to resign. I'm sorry." It's so fucking dumb. And the only reason they did this is because they want Starfleet and the Federation to be exclusionary. They want them to be that way. They want to end the utopia. They did it in season 1 where they banned androids, and now they're doing it with Seven. Even when it's a total contradiction. Doesn't make any sense. But they have to do it because they need to make Star Trek cynical. Fuck me. Ugh. All that was pretty bad, but I haven't even talked about what makes this episode truly abhorrent. After a sword fight with holographic Elnor, the Borg Queen has the advantage and she's about to kill Seven. But Jurati intervenes. And Jurati convinces the Borg Queen to be nicer. Jurati comes to the conclusion that the Borg Queen is lonely. She doesn't really care about perfection and all that stuff. She's just lonely. And she says, it's still okay to assimilate people, but do it for people who want it, instead of forcing it on people. You know, take volunteers. Jurati gives a tearful speech, and the Borg Queen is convinced to make more Borg like Seven. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, what? It's so childish. First of all, nobody in their right mind would want to join the Borg. I'm sorry. They imply that she's going to do it for sick and dying people. I got to be honest. If I was sick and dying, I still wouldn't want to join the Borg. It's horrible. But this show has established that it feels good to be a Borg, and that being a Borg is not actually that bad. So, despite the fact that they force it on you and take everything you are and violate you and make you a slave, essentially, it's actually kind of good. That's what they're saying here. You know, they're trying to make the Borg into this shades of gray type species, but they're not. They're as black and white as it gets. I'm sorry, they're not even villains. They are just a force of nature. You know, it would be the same thing if Jurati was talking to COVID and said, what if you only made people who wanted to be sick? You know, what if you only gave COVID to people who actually wanted it? That's how ridiculous this is. That's what we're talking about. And the idea that the Borg Queen would be convinced of this when she's about to win anyway. She has no reason to relent. It makes no fucking sense. It drives me crazy. Holy shit. So the Borg Queen takes the ship. They let her take the ship, and she leaves to go, spread joy and make people Borg who want to be Borg in the galaxy. 5 minutes ago, she wanted to conquer the entire fucking galaxy. But now she just she's just going to take anybody that wants to do it. Why? What the fuck? I'm flabbergasted. Oh, man. Oh, but before she leaves, she fixes Seven's wounds by giving her Borg implants. So Seven has the same Borg implants that she had before the timeline was broken. My brain is broken. I mean, so now she looks like Seven again with the eyepiece. But, like, why? Why would it be the same fucking implants? It doesn't make sense. I'm. You see why it made me sick again? This is why I'm still sick, because it's fucking shit. Oh, man. That was fucking terrible. And, I don't want to judge anybody, If you love this show, that's great. But I have to wonder, if you love this and you think that it doesn't have flaws, or it has very few flaws, I don't want to judge you, but I also am like, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? You got problems? Like what? What? How do you not see the flaws in this? It's so blatant to me. But if you love it, that's great. I love a lot of things that have tons of flaws in it, but this is not one of them. And like I said, the episode ends. They go back to the main mission, which I guess is going to consist of stopping Adam Sung because he escaped. He had a phaser on the whole crew. He was going to kill them, but the phaser was going to blow up because I guess he's not allowed to use it. So instead of throwing it at the people he wants to kill, he just throws it up in the air and lets it blow up safely. And then he runs out of the room like fucking Batman. Just, fucking terrible. Just fucking terrible. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I haven't seen the last episode yet. I know it's already out. I'm behind. I'm probably going to watch it. I'll probably watch it today. And then hopefully the next day or two, I'll have a review for it just to be a completionist. And I'll do a rating. I'll give it a Dick Rock rating for the whole season. It's not going to be a lot of Dick Rocks. It's going to be very, very tiny Dick Rocks for this show. I guarantee it. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Take it easy.